What's up, everybody? Drew here. Today we're going to talk about photo booth rental contracts. Before we get into it, let me just go ahead and get the plug out of the way. We do have contract samples available to purchase at photobooth101.com. I will leave that in the description. I highly recommend you get a contract and use it every single time you have a rental. It doesn't matter if it's, you're just starting off, you're doing free events, or if it's a friend or a family member, have it. You'll be very, very grateful to have that in place. If something goes wrong and you need to refer to that, it's going to save you. So links to that in the description, and also subscribe if you haven't already. So let's just talk about why contracts are important. The contract basically should help you if, let's just say, any of the following things happen, right? Let's say you drop your photo booth off, or your photo booth is at an event, and let's just making up a scenario. Someone drunk hits it, it falls over, and it breaks. Now, two things can happen, right? One, you can ask the customer to pay for it. They're going to either say yes, or they're going to say no. Hopefully, they say yes, they pay for the damages, that's it. But if they say no, well, now you have to refer to that contract and just state, well, hey, look, on our contract, this is stated that you signed it, you read it, you agreed to this, and it's just one of those things where you can't, how can I say, you can't dispute that, right? Because it's in writing, the terms were there, they signed it, and if you ever had to go to court, which we've never had to, and I don't know many photo booth operators that have, it's gonna help you. It's gonna be there, it's gonna be an asset to you and your business. Also, contracts cover things like model release. We have that in our contract, basically meaning that, the customer agrees to give us privilege and rights to use the photos taken at their event for marketing purposes, social media, on your website. That's something that's important too, because a lot of times customers may not want you to use their photos. For example, we had an event a few weeks ago we did for a celebrity. It was for an Emmy party. No, I'm sorry. It was for an Oscar party. He was getting nominated for a movie and he had a big party, and they didn't want us to use the photos. Well, in the contract, it states, model release, we have the rights to use these photos unless you email us otherwise. The lady that booked us, his assistant, read the contract and was like, hey, we'd prefer you not to use it. So we don't use it. But if they read the contract, they sign it, they don't send you an email, you have the rights to use it. And I can't even express how important this is because, let's just say you don't have a contract, you have your photo booth at an event, you assume that you can use the photos, and you do, and someone just is, let's just say the customer 2 weeks down the line is scrolling through social media, they see a photo of someone that they know, that person finds out, they get upset, it could just be a hot mess, right? So the model release is important. And also, I should have probably mentioned this in the beginning, the contracts, which I like to call them as agreement forms, it just sounds less intimidating. We call it an agreement form. It has the details of the event, right? It has the date, the time that you're going to be providing your photo booth rental, the address, what else? The services provided. So whether it's like a digital or a print event, it's all stated there, right? So there's no reason for you to show up to an event and the customer is like, well, hey, I thought we were doing prints. And so it's like, no. Look back at the contract. You'll see that it states digital only. You signed it, and this is what we have. Not only will you have that, you should have, the info on the booking form and all that stuff. And I like the contracts too. It's just another step to help, how can I say, it's an extra step for me to realize that there's something wrong with the info I was given. So let's just say the customer gives the booking form, we have that info for the event, and then, they pay the deposit, the retainer, then we get the contract, and then I use the info that they gave us on the booking form on the contract, and let's just say the address was wrong. Well, when the customer reviews the contract, they'll say, oh shoot, this isn't the address. And then, it's happened plenty of times where I'll say, okay, well, this is what you put in the booking form. What's the correct address? Then they give you the correct address. And this can apply to everything too, like the terms, what you're bringing to the table as far as like service-wise. Another thing too, it mentions, contracts are good for not just damages, theft. And another reason you should be using contracts is to cover yourself when it comes to cancellations, date changes, or anything along those lines, right? As far as like refunding money. A lot of times you may speak to a customer on the phone. You could explain all of these things that are in your contract And they could agree to it verbally, but we all know people will sit there and people have the opportunity to lie and say that they never talked about that to you on the phone and request a refund. That's, to me, I absolutely love the security knowing that the contract has it in it and it was signed. So there's proof that if they want to cancel, we're keeping the deposit, right? Or if they want to change the date, that there potentially could be a fee added to that. And the return policy on all this stuff is really, really important to have. And it's just a great asset to have. And another thing I want to mention, right, before we sign off here, is having a contract makes you look like a legit company. And I'll tell you an example really quick. I don't want to take up too much time, but for the first couple years, we weren't really doing contracts. I was doing it more as a hobby and a side hustle, just making extra money. But as things started to pick up, we landed our first corporate event. It was for a corporate party. I think it was like a Christmas party. And the person in charge that was booking us asked for a contract. And I didn't have a contract. I didn't even... it wasn't something that we thought we needed. We're just doing a lot of house parties, some weddings. And when I told the person in charge that was hiring us that we don't have a contract, they said that that would be a deal breaker and asked if we can get one. So of course, we got one. And by the time I sent that contract to them, they already had went with someone else. And I personally think it's because it made me look like a hobbyist. It made me look like someone that wasn't taking my business serious, right? Because they're a corporation. They don't want to run into any issues, and it also helps them too as well, right? There's certain things that there's certain things in the contract that could also benefit the person that is hiring you. And it's just, again, mainly what I'm trying to say is it's gonna help your brand. It's gonna make you look like a legit company. So you guys should definitely have one. And I'm gonna sign off here. If you guys are interested in getting the contracts, I will leave them in the description. And as always, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions about anything I've ever talked about in this video, just leave it in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Take care and I'll see you soon.